Welcome to episode 2 of the Warrior Pulse. This is your host, Trey Heath, and I have the distinct honor and privilege today of having Dr. Keith Wade with us for today's interview. Dr. Wade has been at Weber since 2003. He became the academic dean in 2006 and served in that role until 2009. And just to get himself prepped, he took on more work and became the president here at Weber in 2008. Currently serving in the role of CEO and president, he is used to having multiple shoes to fill. Dr. Wade, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning, Trey. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump right into the questions. Since you are the CEO and the president, you are dealing with multitudes of things all the time. Would you deem yourself as somewhat of a firefighter?
That's not the role that I seek. I really prefer to avoid fires, to set up systems, processes, equip people, train people, but when something's on fire, you have to put it out. So yes, I am a firefighter, but if you're fighting fires all the time, then there's probably some root cause that you need to get to, because fighting fires is not the best use of your time or effort. But unfortunately, Trey, yeah, fires come up, and if I'm the first responder, I'm going to put it out. But we try to avoid fires when we can, but they're going to happen here and everywhere.
Well, that actually leads me to, as the leader, you have to rely on delegation. How hard is it for you to let that delegation occur versus, I see this, I think I can handle it, or letting those that you put in that place?
It's still a problem. I've got it a whole lot better. Reality has snuck in, and I've realized you can't be everywhere at once, and it's hard to let people make mistakes, especially when they are avoidable mistakes. But most of what I've learned through failure, not through success. People grow by trying, whether they get it right or not. So delegation is still an issue, especially in stuff that I know how to do. There's a lot of stuff I don't know how to do. I mean, I told Kelly Scott to run that play where we throw the ball and our guy runs across the goal line with it. And he wondered if there might be some more specificity I could give him in that, because he said there's several that fit that description. So I've got it better at it, Trey, but I'll admit there's still the temptation to jump in and do it myself. But overall, when there's an organization with, and a total count 300 employees, you can't do it all. And I've grown and matured enough that I realize that sometimes people are better off if I don't even try.
Completely understand. Found out that you have a very large business acumen, and you have looked at business leaders and presidential leaders. Some succeeded, some failed. So Herb Kelleher, the co-founder and CEO of Southwest Airlines, was one that he was that role until he passed away in 2019. And I pulled off one of his quotes that says, "Your employees come first, and if you treat your employees right, guess what? Your customers come back. And that makes your shareholders happy. Start with the employees, and the rest follows from that." Who are the shareholders at Weber?
Boy, there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, at the end of the day, the graduates that we turn out are the ones that are going to be running the world. I feel most indebted to the students. Certainly, we have an obligation to be a good neighbor. Certainly, we have an obligation to be an employer where people want to work, where they're able to provide for their family, where they get up in the morning and say, I get to go to work, as opposed to I have to go to work. But at the end of the day, the ones that I feel most indebted to are the students. There's 4,500 schools out there. Some are good, some are great, some are bad, some are horrible. But they've looked around, they've decided that we're the place that will launch their career and launch their life. We've looked at them. We have about a 45% acceptance rate. We said we can help you get there. So they're the ones I really feel we've made a deal with. You come, you put into work, and we're going to send you out in the world ready for your first job, ready for your first promotion. Now, it's a partnership. You got to put into work. So they're the ones I feel most indebted to. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of constituencies. We need to be a good employer. We need to be a good neighbor. We need to be a good corporate citizen. But at the end of the day, I feel like the people I've looked in the eyes, shaken hands with, said we're going to do this together, are the students. So they're going to be the primary constituency that I feel most indebted to.
Awesome. Well, that leads me to, we are a very athletic-centric school. And how do you feel about the athletes as they move into the business world? That being said, we just hosted the virtual business fair on Wednesday. So how is it being an athlete here at Weber, and what does an athlete bring to a business leader?
And we have the conversation every once in a while. We have a lot of athletes, and I am completely unapologetic for that. You think of schools that have more athletes than we do, West Point, darn fine school. U.S. Naval Academy, darn fine school. U.S. Air Force Academy, darn fine school. I'm a parent. I'm trying to raise a well-rounded athlete. I don't think my kid is ever going to be a professional karate person. I hope he does, because daddy's ready to retire. I don't think he's ever going to be a professional gymnast. I hope he does, because daddy needs new shoes. But the reality is, the athleticism was here when I came here. I didn't create it, but I've embraced it. I had the privilege of teaching here full-time my first 2 years. And I taught business ethics. And I walked into a room full of teenagers and people just in their 20s, and what a big advantage I had, because everybody in there knew what a face mask was. Does everyone in here know what a face mask is? Every hand goes, perfect, we're going to talk about Enron. So they may not have known what Enron was, they may not have known what Saks-Oxley was, but they knew what a face mask foul was. So I firmly believe what you learn in the field, you take to the business world. I've been here for 18 years. I've seen some people come in at 17 and 18 that didn't know a whole lot, but they built confidence on the field. They learned leadership on the field. They learned when it was time to follow in the field. They learned when you had to sacrifice in the field, and that translated into their classroom. It translated into their first jobs. I mean, we have some students that are doing amazing on their jobs. And did the classroom help? You better believe it. Did all the studying, all the time and effort they put into the classroom help? You better believe it. But so did showing up for practice on time. So did having to sacrifice some of yourself for the good of the team. So did sometimes, this is the system, these are the rules, we hate the outcome, but this is bigger than us. I mean, I've wept when we've had to sacrifice a game for an ineligible player, but is that a lesson that those kids will never forget the rest of their life? They will never, ever, ever forget it. Bitter lesson, but at least it's better to make it here than in the boardroom. So I think athleticism is a co-curricular activity that makes our students better.
Very true.
Better.
I completely agree with everything. I got chills while you were talking then. Speaking of your son, you've been here for 18 years. You have encountered so many lessons that you have learned while being here. Pick one that you want to share with your son as he grows.
Well, I will tell you, 3 years ago, my graduation speaker did not show up. And I paged him. I went out in the parking lot looking for him, and my graduation speaker did not show up. I've always wanted to do a graduation speech, but I've never wanted to do it with 2 minutes of preparation. So I actually did a graduation speech, which were the 10 rules of personhood that we're trying to teach our son. I mean, we told him, look, you were born a male. You may never be a man. There's some things that you have to do to earn that title. And they work as well for a 5-year-old as for an 18-year-old. I think if I had to pick one that may be the most unfamiliar, it's everything you ever do, assume you're going to read it in the newspaper in the morning. And let that be a guide for what you write, what you tweet, what you say. And I think in the one that I repeat the most here, and I mean, some of the rules of manhood are pretty intuitive. Tell the truth, be good to your mother. But to assume everything you're going to do is going to be in the newspaper, a lot of people would have had a lot longer careers if they had remembered that one. That's killed a lot of careers. So that's what I preach a lot.
Very good. That's awesome. We know that you take your tours around campus. What do you see through Dr. Wade's eyes?
Well, let's see. I mean, you can look at me and see I'm not exercising, and it's really not a pleasure walk or a stroll. It's a Gemba walk. I am a Six Sigma black belt, so I am going to the extent that I can. I'm walking with a voice and a view of the customer. We see all kinds of things here. We get used to all kinds of things here. So primarily, as I'm walking around campus, it's number one, what are we doing? It's not portraying who we are. I mean, we are what we are. When we take people on tours, we show them the real dorm rooms. We don't have a phony room to show them. We show them the real professors. We don't have models and actors. So we show what we are, but as I'm walking through campus, number one, I'm going to look out for things that aren't what we are. I mean, I picked up a mask on a football field yesterday. We're not throwing our trash on the ground kind of people. We're just not, but when you don't know us and you see that, it's easy to reach a judgment that is not consistent with who we are, what we are. And the other thing is removing obstacles. Some of the things we do here, there's very, 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 very good reason for doing that may not be perfectly apparent to you until you've looked into why. Some of the things we do just because it's always the way that we've done it. It may not be the easiest, it may not be the most efficient, and college is tough. College is tough no matter who you are. It's extra tough when you're an athlete. It's tougher still if you've got a job. And if we've got barriers and obstacles that aren't doing anything, I'm trying to bulldoze those. So it's really two. It's on the lookout for stuff that just isn't us, and it's on the lookout of stuff that we're doing that isn't adding value, or worse, is making it more difficult. So that's why I'm out strolling. It certainly isn't for exercise. 'Cause
I'm so glad that you went into depth on that, because I think people see you walking around like, oh, he's just doing this, he's just doing that. But a true leader is always someone that's looking above and beyond. They're not out just walking. They're out looking, as you said, the customer. And it also goes back to the stakeholders as well. In that same vein, what do you feel is either your greatest improvement or the school's greatest improvement, and also what's one of its greatest struggles still?
Well, Trey, I got rid of the yellow robes. When I came here at graduation, we had yellow robes, and you could see them from across a football field. So let it be said that Keith Wade brought to Weber the black robe and eliminated the canary yellow robe. But in all honesty, we've continued to be adaptive to the needs of business. I came to Weber as a business advisor. I had a job in the community, and I was approached by Phil Murray, who said, these kids were turning out, you're hiring them. What should we be teaching them that you're having to teach them in the workplace? And that still drives our curriculum. So, I mean, certainly we've built some new facilities since I've been here. We've built a Miranda dorm. We've put down turf. There's a continuing sprucing up that's gone on. We've replaced all the sinks in Camilla, which seems like a little deal, unless you're using a sink in Camilla, which it's a big deal. But really, I'm striving. My big goal is that when somebody graduates from here, that their first day of the job, they're going to earn their pay. Because I don't want people hiring our graduates and saying, what the heck did they teach them over there? And understanding you have to learn any industry. You can't go into anything being an expert, but hoping that they've got the skills to learn, the skills to adapt, and 6 months down the road, maybe they're ready for a promotion. So that's the big thing that drives me. The underlying thing is I will never forget, I was at Tallahassee at the annual Polk County Day. Some guy read my name badge and he said, boy, we hire a lot of graduates from Weber and they're better than anybody in Polk County. I mean, I wanted to hug the guy. I didn't, but I wanted to hug the guy. That was the nicest thing anybody had said to me that day. The challenge is we're still one of the best kept secrets in America. I mean, for kids that come here, we're exactly right. I could tell you name after name after name after name of student that came here, and they ended up so much better than if they gone into their second choice. They thrived, they learned, it was where they needed to be. They found their calling and they used those 4 years of their life. Some of the most formative years you're ever going to get. 18 to 21 is a big deal, and they used that to craft a life, and they trusted us to do that. And that's what drives everything. That's what drives everything. But it's our biggest. It's the same biggest struggle it's been when I got here. I remember the first time I came, I called Miss Vaughn 3 times, and the last time, "Sir, have you passed Fat Boys yet?" "No, ma'am." "Well, as I told you the last 2 times, you're not here yet. Make a left when you get to Fat Boys." It's a well-kept secret, and we try to get the name out. We have a lot of alumni ambassadors that tell people they send their kids, but a lot of people still haven't heard of us. It's a big challenge to let people know this is who we are, this is what we do, and make an informed decision. If you like what we do here, great. If you're better somewhere else, no harm, no foul. We can't make you a poet. We're just not equipped to make you a better poet than you come here as. And if that's what you want to do, you just shouldn't be here. But getting the word out, this is who we are, this is what we do, was a challenge when I came. It's a challenge today, and we work on it every day, but that's the biggest one is Weber who?
Yes, not Weber State. Weber State. You obviously have spoken about your son and your wife, and you're here. You have multiple irons in the fire. How do you manage between the personal and the business, and do you believe in balance?
Yes, we set time out. I mean, sometimes there's an emergency. You can't have a balance when you sleep with your cell phone. I mean, I'm not at my best at 2 a.m., but if a phone rings, I'm coming. I try to be at work by about 6:30 in the morning. I try to be out the door by 5 in the afternoon. When I get home, there's a couple of hours. We have a no devices at the table rule. So when I get home, I cook and or eat dinner. I do some of the cooking, not all of the cooking. We sit at the table without devices. We try to pry information from the youngster about how his day was. We play trivia on Alexa. And if there's stuff that needs to be done, I will do it from 9 p.m. I try when I'm at work to actually work and be productive at work, so I don't have to take work home. Sometimes I do, but there's a 3-hour block that it's got to be awfully important to interrupt me for. From about 6 p.m. to about 9 p.m. is when we eat our dinner, when we talk about our day, when we chill. We've all worked hard all day. Sometimes there's stuff I have to do after 9, but basically, if there's stuff to be done, we set time aside to do it, then get on with the weekend. We try not to do work all through the weekend. It might be from 9 to 11 on Saturday. I got work to do. I got to get it done. Then we can have our weekend. And I sleep with the phone, and that goes with the job.
Yeah, completely understand. I had a great time. One quick quip. Dr. Murray, you and I have both failed because Dr. Murray will tell you that you need to have 2.3 children to be most economically viable. I don't know if his stats have changed, but we both have one, and that we are against the economic standard. Also, when you are telling people to turn at Fat Boys, you right there have given everybody your problem. If you're not turning on the 429, or you turn at Fat Boys. We don't even have a road name, it's just turn at Fat Boys. So I completely understand. Last question I'm going to hit you with, because you have given such extensive answers. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. What does being a warrior mean to you?
I was going to go back to pointing out that Dr. Murray has 1 child, not 2.3 children. So just like all of the economists who say don't send your kid to college, I'll believe you more when you're not sending your kids to college.
I believe he's just graduated.
Every economist that says don't send your kids to college send their own kids to college, and Dr. Murray has precisely one child. But we'll leave that for another day. I mean, what I hope being a warrior means is that you're part of whatever team you happen to be part of. Whether it's the football team or the baseball team or the tennis team or the introduction to algebra team or the people who live in Babson Heights team or the marketing team at whatever employer employs you. I hope being a warrior means part of the team, being part of the team. I hope it means fighting for your core values because they're your core values. And I hope it means doing what you think is right. We're not always going to be right, but we always know as much as we can know anything what's right. So I mean, I hope it means when something's right, you fight for it because it's right. But I think like everything else in life, it's a personal decision, and being a warrior is to each warrior what it is to them. But that's my thought: is you got your team, you got your values, and you got that grit and you got that gumption to go after what's right every time.
Awesome. Well, as you can tell, Dr. Wade is very passionate about what he does and what he says. The founder of this great institution was Roger Babson, who also ran as a presidential candidate. So as we wrap up today, I had 5 quotes and we had a discussion, and we couldn't determine which one was the best. So we're going with this one today because the dream still is alive. It takes a person who is wide awake to make his dream come true. I want to thank Dr. Wade for joining us for episode 2 of the Warrior Pulse, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Everybody have a great one. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Warrior Nation.